Alrighty, welcome back everybody. So I've been trying to reach 2200 rapid. If you've been watching my live streams, you've seen that I've come pretty close a few times. I got to 2195 yesterday. I've been to 2196 before. But every time I get right there, then I start losing and my rating drops off. So I think I'm at like 2180 or something right now because I lost a few games last night. So what I'm going to try to do in this video is win a rapid game and get back on track so that I'm within striking distance of 2200, you know, with my next stream or whatever I decide to do. So let's go ahead and jump in the pool and see if we can get the dub, as the kids say. Okay, so this is a pretty good pairing, it looks like, because I'm paired way up. I guess my rating is 2183, in fact. So yeah, playing against a 2296, good chance to pick up some points. You know, if I win, I'll be back into the 2190 range. So that would be good. And I get white, so that's also good. And hopefully we get a King's Indian. I really like facing the King's Indian with white. But Grunfeld also possible. Okay, looks like a King's Indian. And I get to play my favorite Makagonov variation. Although my opinion of it is souring somewhat of late. For reasons that I'll probably explain as they unfold. We'll see how the game goes. Very often I get positions which the engine would say is very strong for white, and then I struggle to find the way to actually sort of break through. So we'll see if this ends up being one of those games. Now, from a theoretical standpoint, I'm already happy because h6 is a bad move by black. The bishop is quite happy on e3 anyway. In fact, in this position, a lot of people just play bishop e3 right away. So this pawn on h6 is not really good. It's just going to be a target later after like queen d2. And a lot of white's plans can hinge around actually attacking on the king side. And he's just making it a little bit easier to engage with his king's defenders. I don't know the move knight a6. It seems a little strange to me. I guess he wants to play c5 and knight b4, but it doesn't really seem like something that I should worry too much about. I think we want to get the bishop to d3, though, because we want the bishop on this diagonal. And if he gets knight b4 in first, then that won't be easy to achieve. It's a pretty standard move in the Makagonov anyway, to play bishop d3. Because this knight often comes to e2. So that we can play g4 and knight g3 and attack. He could also opt for e5 and then put the knight on c5. In either case, it's good to go ahead and get the bishop on d3. Like I could just play bishop d2 in that position. He could also play something sort of non-committal, c6. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, c6 is maybe somewhat committing to e5, because I don't think you're going to play c6 and then c5. So probably he needs to just decide which one of these breaks he wants to go for. Okay, he did play c6. He must be stream sniping me even though this game isn't live. Somehow he pulled it off. Okay, we'll just keep going with the standard plan. Seems pretty pleasant for white. Looks like one of those positions where the computer will say, you know, +1 or something like that. But there's still a lot of game left. I kind of can't imagine a move other than e5 now. I guess knight b4 could be played, but I don't see a problem with bishop b1. He goes here, I'm just going to get a3 later and put the bishop back wherever I want it. So my plan is to play g4, knight g3, f3, h4, and start attacking. Usually black wants to find counterplay on the queen side. I guess he could... I mean, right now that just loses a pawn, but he could play for b5 as a potential pawn break. So like bishop d7, intending b5. It's a little hard to believe, but maybe. Sometimes it is better to not do this plan, and like if black plays extremely passively, then you can just castle and just be like better, and you don't have to attack, you just have a much better position. Oh, I forgot when I do these videos. Yeah, I forgot to turn on this layout so that you guys can actually see the clocks and the players. I haven't done a YouTube video in like 3 months, so it's not my fault. So yeah, this is my opponent and his stats and stuff. Okay, he did play e5. Always answer this with d5. And he might take, or he might just put the knight on c5 right away. If he takes, I'm always tempted to take with the e-pawn, but I think it's like better to take with the c-pawn, but oh, he just went back. He wants to play f5. But probably I should just play g4, and then f5 is very dangerous for him because it's opening the g file. It's opening my bishop up. That's the usual way to counteract this. I think I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to give it too much analysis. Just going to trust my experience in these positions. Basically what happens to me a lot in these Makagonovs is I get a position like this. Yeah, and black ends up just not really doing anything, and I get to do all the fun stuff that I like to do. And then I have a great position, and life is grand, but I never quite know how to break through over here. It's just like, it always looks great. And then, you know, things don't always work out. So now, like, f5 is just going to be completely impossible. I've got so many pieces guarding that square. Sometimes they play queen h4. Okay, he's wanting to play for b5, which makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I should probably throw in queen d2 at some point and target this pawn to induce king h7. It's also useful for swinging the queen over here later. And like, for example, if I wanted to play f3, the idea being to play h4 but not hang g4, although it's not hanging, then, like, for example, f3, queen h4 could be annoying, but if my queen's on d2, I can just swing the queen over. I'm wondering if I should just play h4 right away. I probably need to analyze that. Normally I wouldn't be able to because this knight would be on this pawn, but he moved it back for unknown reasons. Reasons that didn't pan out anyway. There's also f4 if I ever wanted to go super crazy, but that's probably a little too crazy. I could also just play a4 and try to stop him from getting his pawn break over here. That might be fine also. The question is, do I really care about his pawn break? I mean, I guess if he does it now, I just take c6 and I have this square for my knight. Which is probably pretty good. So if I don't care about that pawn break, I shouldn't really worry about preventing it. So I'm probably going to play h4. Trying to decide if queen d2 is somehow an improvement. If I play queen d2, he could play queen h4. But if I play h4, then I can't move my queen later. I have to play like f3 next. But I guess I like that move order best, because then he never gets queen h4, which could be annoying. So let's go ahead and go for it. And I'll probably play f3 next so that my queen can move, not have to be tied to this. Okay, he took there. Wow, I'm very tempted to take with the e-pawn and open this bishop up. But that does free up f5, but is f5 actually something that he wants to play? With like rook g1 coming. I could also take with the knight. That doesn't really appeal to me, trading off this knight. Yeah, I don't think I want to give up control over f5. So I think I'm going to take with the c-pawn. Maybe I should trade these knights. Because if I take with the c-pawn, then like b5, I'm going to have to do something with this knight one day. I'm just going to take with the pawn. If we trade knights, then he might be able to prevent castling with rook c1, and that could be scary. It's going to be dangerous to castle short. Well, I mean, not necessarily, but it'll kind of impede my attack to castle short. Yeah, and I saw this, but if he kicks me, I can get to b6, which is probably fine. And then c4 if I absolutely have to. So I think I should just go ahead with f3 to prepare queen d2 and long castles. Maybe queen d2 right away is playable. Let's just play f3 first, though. Not so easy for black. That's what I like about these types of positions. I really don't know what he'll do. Just bishop here, maybe. I mean, bishop d7 could be useful. Then if he plays b4 here, he could just trade. And if my queen's on d2, you know, I don't have that idea, so... Okay, makes sense. So now if I play queen d2, b4, I have to come up with a different plan for the knight. It's also here, which I hadn't really noticed. Does that do anything? I'm not sure that it really does anything. I think I'm just going to play h5 right away and just play, you know, pretty directly. Not blink with this whole situation. Oops, wrong arrow. This whole situation. Put the knight here. Okay. Well, this was the plan, wasn't it? Yeah, actually, this might be better for me because now... Like, he really shouldn't... Like, this is a threat. So presumably he'll play g5, but then I have here, and I can eliminate this bishop. Or he just trades right away. Either way, I'm exchanging these pieces. And when this bishop's gone, f5 will be a more difficult square for him to liberate. I'm just assuming he won't survive if he lets me take this, so he's probably going to have to play g5. He could try knight b5, and at least then, you know, getting the knight here is a little bit annoying. But I think I still would just play knight f5 in some line, and if he ever takes, like I take with the g-pawn, I have a, you know, really nice, strong center and an open g-file then. I think we can safely pre-move this. I think that may be what he should play. Or, yeah, either he should take or play knight b5, I think. Against knight b5, I still play knight b6. I could actually even switch gears here. And, like, let's say all that stuff I said happens. Let's say these pieces get traded. g5 gets played. I could castle short and then just try to win on the queen side. My king looks really safe over there. Oh, f5. Okay, so he's not kidding around. So this is the threat. I think I throw this in. I mean, it's maybe not. I mean, I could take a bunch of times here. And then I have like queen b3 if he ever tries to snip this. I think I at least want to take with the g-pawn and start opening stuff up over there. Yeah, again, we have this threat. I think I should just take this, though. Why say no to a pawn? Knight b6, f4. I mean, maybe I can throw knight b6 in. No, that's just 2 pieces for a rook. So, okay, let's take this. Falling a little behind on the clock here. Position's a little weird, like, my king is pretty out in the open. But his pieces are all kind of bad. I think it's going to be difficult for him to take this because of these ideas. Possibly even better if he takes, better might be bishop e4. Pin him that way. And then pin him, or, you know, both. Pin him every which way. At some point, castles with the rook also adding on onto the knight. So it seems pretty dangerous for him to take. If he doesn't take it, then I might can just consolidate everything with bishop e4. Or continue with my plan of knight b6. Okay, I don't really understand that so much. I guess let's throw this in, because I don't see why not. His rook doesn't really have a very good square. I'm always going to have c4 as a retreat, or even a4 probably. I didn't like the knight floating here, because I want to move my queen, like queen d2, something. This also defends my pawn, which is kind of useful. But I think I just want to try to castle long. And then, you know, I should be able to come up with some attack on the king side. It looks pretty open over there. Yeah. So queen d2 or queen somewhere else. You might just snip this against any of that, but let's play queen d2. I'm not threatening the pawn because the bishop has a job. But maybe later that pawn should be a target. Knight e4, rook g1 look very logical and scary. Possibly I should have played this first so that he doesn't get knight f, but if he plays knight f6, I just go here anyway, right? Then he can take this. So knight f6, maybe I play bishop e4? I guess knight f6 I don't have to do anything, because if he takes twice here, sorry, then I have Oh no, but he can take with the rook to defend. I was hoping I had some trick. Okay, he just took. Now this is extra well defended. Yeah, and I think just castles. He's coming here, which will interfere with this defense. I think we just need to bring this guy in. Is that hanging that? Yeah, I need to make some decision. Okay, let's err on the side of caution and just castle. Oh, really? Oh, I just like didn't see he's technically... Yeah, I just didn't even notice that. Well, that's not so smart of me. But it might not be so bad. I think I want to play f6. Ah, he stopped me. Okay. I don't know. Feels like he shouldn't do that. Somehow this does something. Is there another move? And this doesn't work because I... Oh, yeah, okay. Here. Ah, my thing. Dang. I can just take this. He did it that way. That wasn't the way I would have did it. But obviously that works. Alright, good game. Except for the part where I lost. But yeah, basically that's how all my Makagonov games go. Like I'm killing it, and then they get counterplay, and I can't break through in time. So that's why I haven't been as pleased with the Makagonov lately. But yeah, so the opening went really well. Let me get the engine and the opening book going so I don't say anything that's blatantly wrong. So all of this is theory. H6 is, yeah, not a good move. Actually, white's win rate in the master database is 73% from here after h6. So yeah, h6 is really terrible. And it gives, it only gives 0.6 for white. Knight a6 is a bit unusual. Bishop d3 is fine. It also likes knight f3, queen d2, normal kind of moves. And then, yeah, it says e5 or c6 here, or c5. Those were the main moves I think I discussed. He played c6. Yeah. So a lot of the moves are kind of interchangeable. It says knight ge2 and queen d2 are both good. Okay, and e5. Yeah, and going back is really bad. So it wants to play queen d2 here before doing anything else. And actually, it doesn't. I kind of mentioned during the game, but it might have been after this point. I'm not sure. It wants to just play like calm, like not try to attack black on the king side, but just like obviously white's position is much better. Like white's pieces are much better. White controls more space. So the line that the computer is giving is queen d2, and then it's throwing in this exchange. It does like taking with the knight. And then, for example, king h7, and it's just saying castle with white. Although now it's saying h4, kind of wishy-washy. But maybe this is how I should try to play these positions more. Because, like, obviously this is fantastic for white. And it's not reliant on my attack, like, breaking through and working. It's just amazing for white, no matter what happens. So maybe that's the way I should change things up. I played g4, which the computer is not as big of a fan of. It says white is still like 0.6, pretty good in the opening. It says he should take this now. Makes some sense. So it's giving take, knight c5, bishop b2. And then it wants to play on the queen side, a5. Okay, he went back instead, which didn't make a ton of sense to me. Knight g3 is good. a6 is purposeless, is basically what the computer says. Yeah, I mean, it's not clear that he can really play b5, although he did, so I guess he showed me. h4 is the best move, it says. Queen d2 is also fine. Knight a4, I didn't think of, is also being floated by the computer. Yeah, basically this, I mean, it's giving +2. Like, this is already just great. C takes is by far the best. Yep, and it just gives +2, +2.5. F3 is correct. Yeah, again, it wants queen d2 or h5. Queen d2 can sort of always be thrown in. It agrees with b4. But it doesn't want to do knight a4, although knight a4 is fine. It gives +1 and 1.8 if I just play knight ce2. I was just having trouble figuring out what that knight's future was, because I can't go to these squares, and this square's blocked. Now it's come around and it says knight a4 is better. So, okay. And f5, which is what he played, seems a little crazy, but the computer can't figure out if it likes it or not. Because right now, my browser engine, like, you know, the Lichess browser engine, has f5 as like one of the top 3 moves. But then when he plays it, it says inaccuracy. So the server analysis like doesn't like it. The server analysis is better than the browser analysis. Taking once is correct. Yeah, maybe I should have realized this, that this knight is actually kind of in the way, right? Because I want to, like, attack. So it's better to take with the knight. And we get the same pawn structure that happened in the game, except my attack is quicker. So that's an interesting point. Didn't think about that. So it doesn't like taking with the pawn. Now it says bishop b5 and bishop takes a4 are both good. Knight b6 is correct. So, I mean, one thing I was wondering during the game is, can he possibly get away with grabbing this? The answer is no, but it's actually apparently there's only one move order that gives white an advantage here. Okay, that makes sense. So I was noticing that this knight can be pinned a lot of different ways. You know, that's a lot of ways. But you actually have to pin it with the bishop. Because if you pin with the queen is sort of overworked, and he can snip this, and then the knight's going to escape. Or actually, the knight's not going to escape. After bishop takes a4, you have to take this. Because if you take this, then your bishop's hanging. So then you would have to take here. And yeah, black didn't lose material. It just gives all zeros here. Weird position. Anything could still happen. So you have to pin it with the bishop. And now, yeah, I guess he's not going to be able to hold on to this. He can't take this. Well, I mean, for a few reasons, but you could just take with check and then recapture the bishop. So what if he tries to be stubborn? Let's say he tries to hold on. Oh, well, that doesn't... I'm sorry, that just... It didn't occur to me in my calculation, like, I'm attacking the knight twice, so he can't defend it, because it's pinned and attacked twice and defended 0 times. So the knight's just a goner. So he definitely couldn't grab the pawn, which was my intuition, but the calculation wasn't very good. So bishop b5, knight b6 was correct. Here it wants rook g1, which is definitely among the moves I was thinking of, but it says queen d2 is also perfectly good. Rook g1's a little more forceful, maybe. But, I mean, it's still giving 1.5 for white, so it's still great. It agrees with the trade, and it likes knight b5. And here's actually where everything turned. This is so tough. Because the game's gone well for me here, but it's very fragile. Like, white's position sort of doesn't make a ton of sense, like, if the attack doesn't pan out. So there's actually only one move that maintains white's advantage. And I just played long castles, and after long castles, black's actually winning. But there's one move that keeps an advantage for white, and a few other moves that make it sort of equal. But, well, I mean, I also just, like, missed that he's threatening to win material here, which was pretty silly. So I need to move my knight. I need to play knight c4. It's the most logical square for the knight. Knight a4, it says, is slightly better for black. Then the knight doesn't really have any squares. I'm probably gonna have to play like b6, b3 later to defend the knight if it ever gets attacked. So knight a4 doesn't really make any sense. And it also says f6 is playable. But knight c4 is by far the best move. So this was kind of just stupid. I got low on time, and I got a little too wrapped up in figuring out how I'm going to attack him, and didn't stop to think about this very obvious that I'm hanging material here. So I just castled, but now black has a material advantage. And yeah, my attack doesn't really seem to go anywhere. So it says rook d2 is the best move. I don't know why. Or rook h2. I wonder if it's like it doesn't want to allow queen f2 or something. I don't know. And then here he played knight f6, which is the best move. And then here he made a mistake, but it ended up not mattering. Yeah, taking the pawn felt really wrong. But I was a little too quick to try to punish it. So the best move is actually king b1. Always play king b1, which I guess prevents this check. Which is a pretty big deal because, like now if he tries to take the c file, then f6 is just winning material. So I'm going to get the c file, and I might be able to do stuff, I guess. So it says he should either play king h8, unpinning, or, you know, what probably makes a little more sense is just taking this pawn. And then it gives queen c4 or queen c2 to take the c file. Yeah, and it would still be pretty complicated from here. It likes black, but, you know, there's still a lot to play for. So that was a bit of an unfortunate game. Luckily, my opponent was like 100 points higher rated than me, so I only lost 4 rating points. So that's not too much of a setback on the road to 2200. But it's always disappointing when you get, you know, the computer's like +2, +2.5, and then you lose, which happens to me a lot in the Makagonov for some reason. But anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. See you on the next one.